Near Banbridge town in the county Down, one morning last July, down a Bowling Green came a sweet Colleen, and she smiled as she passed me by. She looked so sweet from her two bare feet to the sheen of her nut brown hair. Such a coaxing elf I was ashamed of myself for to see I was really there. From Baltree up to Derry and from Galway to Dublin town, no maid I've seen like the brown Colleen that I met in the county Down. As she onward sped, sure I scratched me head and I looked with a feeling rare. And I says I, to a passer-by, who's the maid with the nut brown hair? He smiled at me and he says to me, that's the gem in Ireland's crown. Young Rosie McCann from the banks of the Bann, she's the star of the county Down. From Baltree up to Derry and from Galway to Dublin town, no maid I've seen like the brown Colleen that I met in the county Down. At the harvest fair she'll be surely there, so I'll dress in me Sunday clothes, with me shoes shone bright and me hat cocked right, for a smile from the nut brown rose. No pipe I'll smoke and no horse I'll yoke, till me plough is a rust-coloured brown, till a smiling bride be me own fireside is the star of the county Down. From Baltree up to Derry and from Galway to Dublin town, no maid I've seen like the brown Colleen that I met in the county Down.
Welcome to the Bradley Beach Arts Council, Ireland at the Beach, a celebration of Irish drama, poetry, and music. Up until 1899, Irish theatre was colonial. The theatre was exclusively a place for lofty ideas, stories about the upper class, and royal histories. But all this changed when a young man named William Butler Yeats arrived on the scene. He joined forces with fellow poet and playwright Lady Augusta Gregory to establish the Irish Literary Theatre, which would be later become the famed Abbey Theatre in Dublin, Ireland's capital city. Their mission was to create a theatre for the people, to write dramas that reflected the daily lives, struggles, joys, and traditions of ordinary citizens of a class that had not been represented on stage. The turn of the century was a revolutionary time in Ireland. The years leading up to and following the Irish Rebellion against British Home Rule in 1917 was a period of great turmoil and change. It inspired a true renaissance of drama and poetry, a revival of the Irish language, and a celebration of Irish legends and culture. Yeats and Lady Gregory led this movement together with dramatists John Millington Synge and later Sean O'Casey. Their works are infused with wit, empathy, grief, and nostalgia, and they have informed modern drama as we know it. So, tonight we would like to share with you a sampling of some of their poems and play excerpts, as well as some traditional songs in the Irish language.
The Fisherman by William Butler Yeats. Although I can see him still, the freckled man who goes to a gray place on a hill in gray Connemara cloths at dawn to cast his flies, it's long since I began to call up to the eyes this wise and simple man. All day I'd looked in the face what I had hoped would be to write for my own race, and the reality the living men that I hate, the dead men that I loved, the craven man in his seat, the insolent unreproved, and no knave brought to book that has won a drunken cheer. The witty man and his joke, aimed at the commonest ear. The clever man who cries the catch cries of the clown, the beating down of the wise, and great art beaten down. Maybe a 12-month since suddenly I began, in scorn of this audience, imagining a man, and his sun-freckled face, and gray Connemara cloth, climbing up to a place where stone is dark under froth, and the downturn of his wrist when the flies drop in the stream, a man who does not exist, a man who is but a dream, and cried, "Before I am old, I shall have written him one poem, maybe as cold and passionate as the dawn."
The Newry Boat Song is a traditional tune. Madeline Monaghan will sing some verses in the Irish language. Gallagher, the young woman is in the midst of a sleepless night because of unrequited love. The melody and rhythm of this old song enact the state of mind of the speaker. It seems the repetitive melody of the refrain is her trying to comfort herself, but it also sounds like water beating against a boat.
Gur he mogila duvhan, gur tu mochwila narunach, gur he mogila duvhan, san aroir nach dormin kodal, ba mi fadnam duska. Gur he mogila duvhan, gur tu mochwilan narunach, gur he mogila duvhan. He's gone, my lover is gone, and left me broken hearted. Gur he mogila duvhan, gur tu mochwilan narunach, gur he mogila duvhan. Donal down, the people say you've married down in Newry. Gur he mogila duvhan, gur tu mochwilan narunach, gur he mogila duvhan. I would rather have you, Donal, than the gold of princes. Gur he mogila duvhan, gur tu mochwilan narunach, gur he mogila duvhan. Och namach mar hami nacht, tramas nes mega doundren. Gur he mogwila duvhan, gur tu mochwilan narunach, gur he mogwila duvhan.
Now we'll have a poem by Lady Gregory called Donald Og, as it's in your program with Erica.
It is late last night, the dog was speaking of you. The snipe was speaking of you in her deep marsh. It is you are the lonely bird through the woods, and that you may be without a mate until you find me. You promised me, and you said a lie to me, that you would be before me where the sheep are flocked. I gave a whistle and 300 cries, and I found nothing there but a bleating lamb. You promised me a thing that was hard for you, a ship of gold under a silver mast, 12 towns with a market in all of them, and a fine white court by the side of the sea. You promised me a thing that is not possible, that you would give me gloves of the skin of a fish, that you would give me shoes of the skin of a bird, and a suit of the dearest silk in Ireland. When I go by myself to the well of loneliness. I sit down and go through my trouble. When I see the world and I do not see my boy, he that has amber shade in his hair. It is on that Sunday that I gave my love to you, the Sunday that is the last before Easter Sunday, and myself on my knees reading the Passion, and my 2 eyes giving love to you forever. My mother said to me not to be talking with you today, or tomorrow, or on that Sunday. It was a bad time she took for telling me that. It was shutting the door after the house was robbed. My heart is as black as the blackness of the sloe, or as black as the coal that is on the smith's forge, or as the sole of a shoe left in the white halls. It is you that put that darkness over my life. You have taken the east from me. You have taken the west from me. You have taken what is before me and what is behind me. And my fear is great that you have taken God from me.
Now we're going to have a play excerpt from The Bedtime Story, a comedy by Sean O'Casey, and Angela will be played by Madeline Monahan, and Mulligan will be by Daniel Lees.
It's cold out here still. I thought you said the room was warm. All ready for the journey, eh? Soon we'll be skiing down the stairs, what? Praying to all the saints, you know, to see me out, eh? We have to face the hard, cold facts now, haven't we, dear?
We've got to think now of what would become of me if you were discovered here.
Really? Of course, when one thinks of it, that does become the one important problem.
It is, actually. You see, Angela, the head of my department's a Grand Knight of Columbanus, an uncompromising Catholic, strict in his thought of life, and if he heard of anything like this, I'd be out in the bleaker air quick. The little guilt I have in life would be gone. I'd run to ruin. God help me.
And then there's Father Dempsey.
And then there's Father Dempsey, whose right-hand man I am at the confraternity and at all St. Vincent de Paul meetings, with his "we can safely leave that to Mr. Mulligan," or "John Joe will do this for us." You see, it's a matter of importance to more than just me. So come on, we better get off at once.
Angela's bright eyes, her scarlet lip, fine foot, straight leg, and quivering thigh have lost their charm for Mr. Mulligan. Oh, he's all for the go-ahead godliness now. And what is to become of me? You don't care. And I don't care either. I don't care what becomes of me. I don't care what becomes of me.
Angela, please,
I
sit down,
don't care if I'm out till 2. I don't care for the man in blue. I don't care
Please,
what
Miss
the
Nightingale,
people
be
say.
serious. The
Here,
landlady will hear you and then we'll be
and
done.
everywhere.
Saint Kerberis,
For I'm
help
going to be married in the morning. So tonight, boys, I don't care. Boop. Sometime or other, we have to face out of all we get into. Face out of getting into bed with a woman, no less than face out into silence from the glamour of prayer. Face out of summer into winter. Face out of life into death.
Your talk's near blasphemy, Angela. Now you're going where you shouldn't venture. You'll bring down a curse on me if you're not careful. Please, be more discreet.
They're facts.
We're not fit for facts now.
Oh, do you hear her? Do you hear the like of that? You stand there mustering up moans for yourself and never once realize that you've ruined me. Yes, ruined me.
Oh, God, do you hear her? Ruined you? Oh, come now, don't try to act the innocent.
It's you who's acting the innocent, but it won't work. I was only an innocent kid till I met you. You led me on and destroyed all confidence in the goodness of my own nature. You never ceased from persuasion till you got me here. I wasn't even to take off my hat if I was the least bit suspicious. We were just to sit quiet, discussing Yeats's poems, and you were to sit icebound in your chair.
I led you on. Angela Nightingale, you're inventing things. It was you insisted on coming because you didn't like restaurants. A sorry thing for me I ever listened to you.
It's me's the sorry soul for listening to you. You promised a quiet hour of poetry, but we were hardly here when you began to move. Yeats's poems soon flew out of your head and hand. You got as far as, I will arise and go now, and go to Innisfree. And then, before the echo of the line was hushed, you had me clapped down on your knee. That was the start of me undoing. What am I going to do?
There's lies. Astounded I was when, without a word of warning, I found you fitting into me lap. The truth is, if you want to know, that all the way here I was silently praying to a bevy of saints that you'd stay torpid in any and every emergency of look or motion.
You took care to leave your saints out on the doorstep. Aye, and shut the door in their faces too. You gave your solemn word that before we take one step to this place, you'd be as harmless as an image in a looking glass. I trusted you. I had heard you were a good boy. I thought you were a gentleman.
What about your uplifting can around the table while I was reading Yeats' poem?
You made me believe you'd keep the width of a world between us when we were together so as to avoid accidents. You said anyone who knew you would tell me you had a profound respect for women and that you were slow in lovemaking.
The can? What about the can around the table?
And then you stunned me with your speed.
I'm asking you, what about the can you danced around the table while I was trying to read, I will arise and go now, and go to Innisfree?
What can? What are you talking about? I don't know what you mean by can.
I mean the dance that uplifted your skirt out of the way of your movements and juggled a vision of spiritual desolation and a mirage of palpitating enjoyment.
Oh, do you hear the like of that? Meanness is most of you, to try to put the cloak of your own dark way around my poor shoulders. The dance I did could be done by an innocent figure in a nursery rhyme. You, however, were bent on this awful mischief from the first. I sensed it when I walked with you, something evil hovering near. And now you're making out that you made the fence around me to make the shame. Oh, forget it. What shall I do? Where shall I go? What shall I say?
Angela, calm yourself. Speak lower, or you'll wake Miss Mossy and we'll both be ruined. Sit down, do, please.
I'm undone. Undone completely. I'll never be able to shake the hand of any honest man I meet. I'll never be able to look any honest woman in the face. Oh, you'd better get Miss Mossy. I'm not
Angela.
feeling well. Not at all well. You'd better get her.
Angela, don't.
I feel
Angela,
I'm going
dear,
to faint.
wake up, Saint Coralie Elenus. Oh, come on and deliver us from utter destruction.
Oh, yes, I am going to faint. Please get me some water.
Wine. Here. How did you get yourself into such a state? Here, take this quietly in sips. That should do you good. I hope no one heard you. Miss Mossy sleeps with one ear cocked, you know. You'll soon be all right, and we'll be able to slip away in a few minutes.
The curse. by J.M. Singh. Lord, confound this surly sister, blight her brow with blotch and blister, cramp her larynx, lung, and liver, inner guts a galling giver. Let her live to earn her dinners, in Mountjoy with seedy sinners. Lord, this judgment quickly bring, and I'm your servant, J.M. Singh.
We're doing some. Where's Bartley? We're doing Riders to the Sea by Sean O'Casey, an excerpt. And I think Kathleen is going to come here, and Bartley.
He's coming now, and he in a hurry.
Where is the bit of new rope Kathleen was bought in Connemara?
It's on a nail by the white boards. I hung it up this morning for the pig with the black feet was eating it.
You do right to leave that rope, Bartley, hanging by the boat. It will be wanting in this place. I'm telling you, if Michael is washed up tomorrow morning, or the next morning, or any morning by the week, it's a deep grave. We'll make him by the grace of God.
I've no halter the way I can ride down on this mare, and I must go now, quickly. This is the one boat going for 2 weeks or beyond it, and the fare will be a good fare for horses, I heard them saying below.
It's a hard thing they'll be saying below if the body is washed up and there's no man in it to make the coffin. And I, after giving a big price for the finest white bards you'd find in Connemara.
How would it be washed up? And we after looking each day for 9 days, and a strong wind blowing a while from the west and south.
If it wasn't found itself, that wind is raising the sea, and there was a star up against the moon, and it rising in the night. It was 100 horses, if it was 100 horses, or 1,000 horses, against a sun where there is one sun left. Only?
Let you go down each day and see the sheep aren't jumping in on the rye. And if the jobber comes, you can sell the pig with the black feet if there is a good price going.
How would the likes of her know how to get a good price for a pig?
If the west wind holds with the last bit of the moon, let you and Nora get up weed enough for another cock for the kelp. It's hard set will be from this day with no one in it but one man to work.
It's hard set will be surely the day you're drowned with the rest. What way will I live? And the girls with me, and I an old woman looking for the grave.
I'll have half an hour to go down, and you'll see me coming again in 2 days, or in 3 days, or maybe in 4 if the wind is bad.
Isn't it a hard and cruel man that won't hear a word from an old woman, and she holding him from the sea?
It's the life of a young man to be going on the sea. And who would listen to him with an old man with one thing, and she saying it over and over?
I must go now quickly. I'll ride down on the red mare, and the grey pony will run behind me. The blessing of God on you.
He's gone now. Spare us, and we'll not see him again. He's gone now. And when the black night is fallen, I'll have no son left in the world.
Why wouldn't you give him your blessing? And he looking round in the door? Isn't it sorrow enough is on everyone in this house without your sending him out with an unlucky word behind him and a hard word in his ear? Oh, the Son of God, we're after forgetting giving him his bread. let you go down now to the spring well and give him this, and he passing. You'll see him then, and the dark word will be broken, and you can say, God speed you. That way he'll be easy in his mind. Go now. You didn't give him his bit of bread. Did you see him riding down?
My heart's broken from this day.
Did you see Bartley?
I seen the fearfulest thing. I seen the fearfulest thing any person has seen since the day Bride Dara seen the dead man with the child in his arms. Oh, I went down to the spring well, and I stood there saying a prayer to myself. Then Bartley came along, and he riding on the red mare with the grey pony behind him. Oh, the Son of God spare us. I seen Michael himself.
You did not, Mother. It wasn't Michael you seen, for his body is after being found in the far north.
I'm after.
And he's got a good burial by the grace of God. It was a clean one.
I'm after seeing him this day. And he riding and galloping. Bartley came first on the red mare, and I tried to say, God speed you, but something choked the words in my throat. And he went by quietly, and the blessing of God on you, says he. And I could say nothing. I looked up then, and I was crying, the grey pony, and there was Michael on it, with fine clothes on him and new shoes on his feet.
Didn't the young priest say that the Almighty God wouldn't leave you destitute with no sons living?
Oh, little the like of him that knows of the sea. Bartley will be lost now, and let you call in Amen and make me a good coffin out of the white boards, for I won't live after them. I've had a husband and a husband's father, and 6 sons in this house, 6 fine men. Though it was a hard birth I had with each one of them, and them coming into the world. Some of them were found, and some of them were not found, but they're all gone now, the lots of them. There was Stephen and Sean were lost in the great wind, and found after the Bay of Gregory and the Golden Mouth, and carried up, the 2 of them, on one plank by the door. There's Seamus and his father and his own father again, lost in the dark night, and not a stick or a sign was seen of them when the sun went up, and there was Patch. After was drowned of a curragh that turned over, and I was sitting there with little Bartley and he a baby on my 2 knees, and I seen 2 women, and then 3 women, and then 4 women coming up, and they were crossing themselves and not saying a word. And I looked out then, and there was the men. They were coming for them, and they were holding the thing and half of a red sail and water dripping out of it, and it was a dry day, and leaving a track to the door. Oh, there does be a power of young men floating around in the sea, and what way would they know if it was Michael they had, or another man like him? For when a man is 9 days in the sea and the wind blowing, oh, it's hard set that his own mother would be to say what a man it was.
It's Michael. God spare him, for they're after sending us his bit of clothes from the far north.
They're all gone now.
They're carrying a thing among them,
They're all gone.
and there's water dripping out of it, and leaving a trail by the big stones. Is it Bartley it is? Oh, God. It surely is. God rest his soul.
They're all gone now, and there isn't anything more the sea can do to me. I'll have no call now to be crying and praying when the wind breaks from the south, or you can hear the surf is in the east and the surf is in the west, making a great stir with the two noises, and they hitting one on the other. I'll have no call now to be going down and getting holy water in the dark nights after Samhain, and I won't care what way the sea is when the other women will be keening. Give me the holy water. There's a small sup on the dresser. It isn't that I haven't prayed for you, Bartley, to the Almighty God. It isn't that I haven't said prayers in the dark night till you wouldn't know what I'd be saying, but it's a great rest I'll have now, and it's time surely. It's a great rest I'll have now, and great sleeping in the long nights of Samhain, if it's only a wee bit of wet flour we do have to eat, and maybe a fish that will be stinking. They're all together now this time, and the end has come. May the Almighty God have mercy, mercy on Bartley's soul, and on Michael's soul, and on the souls of Seamus and Padge and Stephen and Sean, and may he have mercy on me soul, and on the soul of everyone who's left living in the world. Oh, Michael has a clean burial in the north. Yes, by the grace of Almighty God, Bartley will have a fine coffin out of the white boards and a deep grave, surely. What more can we want than that? No man at all can be living forever. And we must be satisfied.
The Mother by Patrick Pearse. I do not grudge them, Lord. I do not grudge my 2 strong sons that I have seen go out to break their strength and die, they and a few, in bloody protest for a glorious thing. They shall be spoken of among their people. The generations shall remember them and call them blessed. But I will speak their names to my own heart in the long nights, the little names that were once familiar around my dead hearth. Lord, thou art hard on mothers. We suffer in their comings and going. And though I grudge them not, I weary of the long sorrow. And yet I have my joy. My sons were faithful, and they fought.
The Rebel by Patrick Pearse. I am come of the seed of the people that sorrow, that have no treasure but hope, no riches laid up but a memory of an ancient glory. My mother bore me in bondage. In bondage my mother was born. I am of the blood of serfs. The children with whom I have played, the men and women with whom I have eaten, have had masters over them, have been under the lash of masters, and though gentle, have served churls. The hands that have touched mine, the dear hands whose touch is familiar to me, have worn shameful manacles, have been bitten at the wrist by manacles, have grown hard with the manacles and the taskwork of strangers. I am flesh of the flesh of these lowly. I am bone of their bone, I that have never submitted. I that have vision and prophecy and the gift of fiery speech. I that have spoken with God on the top of his holy hill. And because I am of the people, I understand the people. I am sorrowful with their sorrow. I am hungry with their desire. My heart has been heavy with the grief of mothers. My eyes have been wet with the tears of children. I have yearned with old, wistful men, and laughed or cursed with young men. Their shame is my shame, and I have reddened for it. Reddened for that they have served, they who should be free. Reddened for that they have gone in want while others have been full. Reddened for that they have walked in fear of lawyers and of their jailers with their writs of summons and their handcuffs. Men, mean and cruel. I could have borne stripes on my body rather than this shame of my people. And now I speak, being full of vision. I speak to my people. And I speak in the name of my people to the masters of my people. I say to my people that they are holy, that they are august despite their chains, that they are greater than those that hold them, and stronger and pure, that they have but need of courage and to call on the name of their God, God the unforgetting, the dear God who loves the peoples for whom he died, naked, suffering shame. And I say to the masters of my people, beware. Beware of the thing that is coming. Beware of the risen people that will take what ye would not give. Did ye think that law is greater than life or than men's desire to be free? We will try it out with you. Ye that have harried and held, ye that have bullied and bribed, tyrants, hypocrites, liars!
As down the glen one Easter morn to a city fair rode I. There armed lines of marching men in squadrons passed me by. No pipe did hum, no battle drum did sound its loud tattoo, but the Angelus bells o'er the Liffey swells rang out in the foggy dew. Right proudly high in Dublin town hung they out the flag of war. 'Twas better to die 'neath an Irish sky than at Suvla or Sudel Bar. And from the plains of royal Meath strong men came hurrying through. But Britannia's Huns with their long-range guns sailed in through the foggy dew. Their bravest fell, and the requiem bell rang mournfully and clear. For those who died that Easter tide in the springing of the year. While the world did gaze with deep amaze at those fearless men, but few who bore the fight that freedom's light might shine through the foggy dew. And back through the glen I rode again, and my heart with grief was sore. For I parted then with valiant see more. But to and fro in my dreams I go, and I kneel and pray for you. For slavery fled, oh glorious dead, when you fell in the foggy dew.
Hard to follow that. Beautiful. Getting a bit dark. We will move ahead now a couple of decades to the works of contemporary Irish playwrights Brian Friel and Martin McDonagh. Dancing at Lughnasa and The Cripple of Ishmael were both written in the 1990s, yet take place in the 1930s. You will notice the influence of the earlier playwrights. Friel and McDonagh carry on the tradition of writing in the naturalistic style. These plays depict the working class, like the play of Synge and O'Casey. They capture the character's manner of speaking, and like the works of Yeats and Gregory, they portray a poetic and mythical quality. Most importantly, these writers document a significant time in Irish history.
She's going to turn around.
Mike, The Cripple of Ishmael now. We're starting to do excerpts from, and forgot. Completely forgot I had something to read now. So sorry. I'm getting a bit old, you know. This is from The Cripple of Ishmael. Johnny. From Hollywood, California, in America, they're coming, led by a Yank in the name of Robert Flaherty, one of the most famous and richest Yanks there is. Coming there to Inishmore, they're coming. And why are they coming? I'll tell you why they're coming. To go making a movie picture film will cost over $1 million, will be shown throughout the world, will show life how it's lived on the islands, will make the film stars of whosoever should be chose to take part in it, and will take them back to Hollywood then and be giving them a life free of work, or anyway, only acting work, which wouldn't be called work at all. It's only talking. Coleman King, I know already they've chosen for a role, and $100 a week he's on. And if Coleman King can play a role in a film, anybody can play a role in a film. For Coleman King is as ugly as a brick of baked shite. And everybody agrees. And excuse me language, but I'm only being descriptive. A little exodus, Johnny Patine Mike, foresees to the Big Island. So of any lasses or laddies in this parts with the looks of a film star about them, wants to make their mark in America, Well, that rules out all in this household. I know, it goes without saying, unless, of course, it's cripples and ingrates they're looking for. Me, in me younger years, they'd have been sure to took. What with me blue eyes and me fine head of hair, and probably still today they'd be after taking me with what the famed, with my famed oratory skills, and could outdo any beggar in the Dublin stage. Only, as ye know, I have me drunkard mammy to look after. The Man of Arran they're going to be calling the film, and Ireland mustn't be such a bad place. So if the Yanks want to come to Ireland to do their film.
I've just brought the two McCormicks home, and I was supposed to bring your Billy home, but I know, but I couldn't bring your Billy home because, because he's been taken to America for a screen test for a film they're going to be making about a cripple fella. Or I don't think the whole film will be about the cripple fella. The cripple fella'd only be a minor role, aye. But it'd still be a good part, you know. Although there's more important things in the world than good parts in Hollywood films about cripple fellas. Being around your family and your friends is more important. And I tried to tell Cripple Billy that, but he wouldn't listen to me no matter how much I told him. Be about this morning they left. Billy wrote a letter here he asked me to pass on to you. 2 or 3 months at minimum, Billy said probably he'd be gone. Ah, as he said to me, it's his life. I suppose it is now. I hope he enjoys his time there anyways. That's all there is. I'll be seeing ya.
Ma'am, I fear I'm not longer for this world, Mum. Can't I hear the wail of banshees for me as far as I am from me barren island home? A home barren I, but proud and generous with it. Yet turned me back on ye I did, to end up alone and dying in a $1 rooming house without a mother to wipe the cold sweat off me, nor a father to curse God o'er the death of me, nor a Colleen fair to wipe tears o'er the still body of me. A body still I, but a body noble and unbowed with it. An Irishman, just an Irishman, with a decent heart on him, and a decent head on him, and a decent spirit not broken by a century's hunger and a lifetime's oppression. A spirit not broken, no. But a body broken. And the lungs of him broken. And truth be told, the heart be broken too. Be a lass who never knew his true feelings, and now sure never will. What's this, mammy, you're saying to me now? Be writing home to I know, mommy. 'Tis late, mammy. Won't tomorrow be soon enough for that task? Farewell, father and mother too, and sister Mary, I've none but you, and for me brother, he's all alone, he's pointing pikes on the grinding stone. Oh, what would heaven be like, mammy? I've heard 'tis a beautiful place. More beautiful than Ireland, even. But even if it is, sure, it wouldn't be near as beautiful as you. I do wonder, would they even let cripple boys into heaven at all? Sure, wouldn't we only go about uglifying the place? 'Twas in old Ireland this young man died, and in old Ireland his body's lain. All the good people that do pass by, may the Lord have mercy on this croppy boy. Oh, 'tis a bad way the chest of me is in tonight, Mammy. I think it's a little sleep I should be having for myself now, Mommy, for it's a hard work in the rail yard tomorrow for me. What's that, Mommy? Me prayers? I know. Sure, would I be forgetting as well as you taught 'em to me? And now I lay me down to sleep, I give the Lord me soul to keep. And if... But if I die before I wake, I pray to God. I pray to God. Oh, don't worry, Mommy. 'Tis only to sleep I'm going. 'Tis only to sleep. Bobby, I dare say I owe you an explanation. See, I never thought that all this day would come when I'd have to explain. I'd hoped forever I'd disappear to America. And I would have too if they'd wanted me there. But you see, they didn't want me. If they'd wanted me for the filming, a blonde lad from Fort Lauderdale they hired instead of me. He wasn't crippled at all, but the Yanks said, better to get a normal fella who can act crippled than a crippled fella who can't feckin' act at all. Except he said it ruder. I thought I'd done all right for myself with the acting. Hours I practiced in me hotel there, and all for nothing. I gave it a go anyways. I had to give it a go. I had to get away from this place, Bobby, just like me mommy and me daddy had to get away from this place. Going drowning myself, I'd often think of when I was here, just to end the laughing at me, and the sniping at me, and the life of nothing but shuffling back to the doctors and shuffling home from the doctors, and finding another way to piss another day away, another day of sniggering, or the patting me on the head like a broken-brained fool. The village orphan, the village cripple, and nothing more. Well, there are plenty around here who are just as crippled as me, but it ain't on the outside that it shows. But the thing is, you're not one of them, Bobby, nor never were. You've a kind heart on you. I suppose that's why it was so easy to go on codding you with the TB letter. But that's why I was so sorry for codding you at the time, and why I'm just as sorry now. Especially for codding you with the same thing it was that your missus died from. Just I thought you would be more effective. But in the long run, I thought, or I hoped, that if you had a choice between you being codded a while and me doing away with myself, you'd choose being codded every time. Was I wrong, Bobby? Was I?
Well, now the very last piece we're doing, we'll be dancing at Lunasa. And we're first going to have a little music called Anything Goes, which was in the play when they first heard the Marconi. Do you know what a Marconi is? It was a little radio. They called it Marconi. Anyway, we're going to have that, and then we're going to have some excerpts from Dancing at Lunasa, and then that will be the end.
In olden days, a glimpse of stocking was looked on as something shocking, but now, Lord knows, anything goes. Good authors, too, who once knew better words, now only use four-letter words, writing prose. Anything goes. Just think of those shops you got, and those knocks you got, and those blues you got from those news you got, and those pains you got, if any brains you got from those little radios. So Mrs. R, with all her trimmings, can broadcast a bit from Simmons, 'cause Franklin knows anything goes.
Cast my mind back to that summer of 1936. Different kinds of memories offer themselves to me. We got our first wireless set that summer. Well, a Sarta set. And it obsessed us. And because it arrived as August was about to begin, my Aunt Maggie, she was the joker of the family, she suggested we give it a name. She wanted to call it Lugh after the old Celtic god of the harvest, because in the old days, August the 1st was La Lunasa, the feast day of the pagan god Lugh, and the days and weeks of harvesting that followed were called the Festival of Lunasa. But Aunt Kate, she was a national school teacher and a very proper woman. She said it would be sinful to christen an inanimate object with any kind of name, not to talk of a pagan god. So we just called it Marconi because that was the name emblazoned on the set. And about 3 weeks before we got that set, my mother's brother, my Uncle Jack, came home from Africa for the first time ever. For 25 years, he had worked in a leper colony there in a remote village called Rianda in Uganda. The only time he ever left that village was for about 6 months during World War I when he was a chaplain to the British Army in East Africa. Then back to that grim hospice where he worked without a break for a further 18 years. And now, in his early 50s and in bad health, he had come back to Ballybeg. As it turned out, to die. And when I cast my mind back to that summer of 1936, these two memories of our first wireless and of Father Jack's return are always linked. So that when I recall my first shock at Jack's appearance, shrunken and jaundiced with malaria, at the same time I remember my first delight, indeed my awe, at the sheer magic of that radio. And when I remember the kitchen throbbing with the beat of Irish dance music beamed to us all the way from Dublin, and my mother and her sisters suddenly catching hands and dancing a spontaneous step dance and laughing, screaming like excited schoolgirls. At the same time, I remember Father Jack shuffling from room to room as if he were searching for something but couldn't remember what. And even though I was only a child of 7 at the time, I know I had a sense of unease, a sense of things widen and breach between what seemed to be and what was, things changing too quickly before my eyes. of becoming what they might not ought to be. It may have been because Uncle Jack hadn't turned out at all like the resplendent figure I had in my head. Or maybe because I had witnessed Marconi's voodoo turn those kind, sensible women and transform them into shrieking strangers. Or maybe it was because during those luminous weeks of 1936 we were visited on 2 occasions by my father, Jerry Evans. And for the first time in my life, I had the chance to observe him.
Do we have to use this?
It's Maggie. You've got some flour on your nose, Maggie.
When I was 16, I remember slipping out one Sunday night, and it was this time of year, the beginning of August. And Bernie and I met at the gate of the workhouse, and the pair of us off to dance in Ardstraw. I was being pestered by a fellow called Tim Carlin at the time. But it was really Brian McGinnis that I was keen on. Remember Brian with the white hands and the longest eyelashes you ever saw? But of course he was crazy about Bernie. Anyhow, the 2 boys took us on the bar of their bikes, and off the 4 of us headed to Ardstraw, 15 miles each way. If Daddy had known, may he rest in peace. And at the end of the night, there was a competition for the best military 2-step, and it was down to 3 couples. The local pair from Ardstraw, we, Timmy, and myself, and I was and he was up to there on me. And Brian and Bernie. And they were just so beautiful together, so stylish, you know. Couldn't take your eyes off them. People just stopped dancing and gazed at them. And when the judges announced the winners, they were probably blind drunk. Naturally, the local couple came in first, and Timmy and myself came in second, and Brian and Bernie came third.
Oh.
Is there music
You
now?
got some more to say, Maggie?
Oh, I forgot to have some more to say. You know, it's getting pretty dark out here, and I'm an old woman, you know. Okay. Poor Bernie was stunned. She couldn't believe it. Couldn't believe it. When she couldn't talk, she wouldn't speak to any of us for the rest of the night. Wouldn't cycle home with us. She was right, too. They should have won. They were just a beautiful couple. And that's the last time I saw Brian McGinnis. Remember? Brian with the... And the next thing I heard, he was in Australia. She was right to be angry, Bernie. I know it wasn't fair. It wasn't fair at all. I mean, they must have been blind drunk, those judges, whoever they were.
Is it working now? Marconi? Yes, it should be. Woo! Where's she?
Get up.
Vamos.
White pants on. Good boy,
As I said,
Jimmy. And
Father Jack was dead within 12 months. And with him and Agnes and Rose all gone, the heart seemed to go out of the house. Maggie took on the tasks Rose and Agnes had done and pretended that nothing had changed. My mother spent the rest of her life in the knitting factory and hated every day of it. And after a few years of doing nothing, Kate got the job of tutoring the young family of Aston Morgan of the arcade. But much of the spirit and fun had gone out of the house, out of their lives. And when my turn came to go away, in the spirit of young men, I was happy to escape. And so, when I cast my mind back to that summer of 1936, different kinds of memories offer themselves to me. But there is one memory of that Lunasa time that visits me most often, and what fascinates me about that memory is that it owes nothing to fact. In that memory, atmosphere is more real than incident, and everything is simultaneously actual and illusory. In that memory, too, the air is nostalgic with the music of the 30s. It drifts in from somewhere far away, a mirage of sound, a dream music that is both heard and imagined that seems to be both itself and its own echo. A sound so alluring and so mesmeric that the afternoon is bewitched, maybe haunted by it. And what is so strange about that memory is that everybody seems to be floating on those sweet sounds, moving rhythmically, languorously, in complete isolation, responding more to the mood of the music than to its beat. When I remember it, I think of it as dancing. Dancing with eyes half closed because to open them would break the spell. Dancing as if language had surrendered to movement. As if this ritual, this wordless ceremony was now the way to speak. To whisper private and sacred things. To be in touch with some otherness. Dancing as if the very heart of life and all its hopes might be found in those assuaging notes and those hushed rhythms and in those silent and hypnotic movements. Dancing as if language no longer existed because words were no longer necessary.